Hey, Reid Hoffman here. I don't technically listen to podcasts, but if I did, I'm certain I'd listen to the Creator Upload. This week on Creator Upload, YouTube turns 20. From a trip to the zoo to 20 trillion uploads. We break down what's next. Plus, Linktree's new monetization tools, game changer or gimmick, it's all coming up on Creator Upload.
Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I'm Lauren Schnipper.
Oh, hey, I'm Ben Relles.
That's Ben Relles, everybody, not Joshua Cohen. Ben Relles joining us today. So excited. He works with Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, focused on AI and video, and of course was a long-time YouTube employee of 10 plus years there. We're very excited to have you on Creator Upload. Thank you so much for being here.
Excited to be here. Big shoes to fill. Josh is out.
Well, I mean, listen, literally not very big, but yeah, I get what you're saying. So excited you're here. You've been on the podcast not as a co-host, but guest maybe a long time ago. So we're overdue for this.
That's right.
I am so excited you're here. There's so much interesting stuff you're doing with Reid Hoffman on AI. And in fact, we're going to get a little taste of Reid AI later in the podcast. But before we get to that, I actually saw you a couple of days ago at an event you had at the Lighthouse, which is the new space that Whaler kind of opened in Venice, California, which is kind of like, I don't know, co-working meets creators. And it was called Super Agency in the Future of AI. And you were interviewing the actual Reid Hoffman while the Reid AI was also making an appearance. Tell the kids about it a little bit.
Well, yes. Reid AI is a digital twin video trained on Reid's content, video, and voice. So we did an interview with Reid Hoffman about our future with AI. But then throughout the whole interview, we also asked questions live to Reid AI, the digital twin, to see how those answers compared. Yeah. So Reid AI did some hip hop, some things in different languages. He agreed with Reid on some things. He didn't agree on others. No,
it was awesome. Yeah, I've seen you. You have this Reid, and then you have like a box. Also, I've seen you do before with Reid. Is it the same technology or LLM that is powering all of these things, or they're different?
Yeah. So the box is actually a hologram. Sometimes I take with me, where you can talk to Reid inside of this hologram box. And yes, the actual knowledge base is the same, but then the tech behind the video is different.
Got it.
But it's the same idea. Like it's trained on his podcasts, his books, his interviews. And so when you ask a question to the AI version of Reid, it can pull from things that a normal, let's say, GPT couldn't. And that's the idea. But the big new thing is that we can actually talk to it in real time, have conversations. Initially, we had to generate these videos one at a time, but now we can do it on the fly.
And what's like the goal of something like this? Like why? I mean, because it's obviously one can go to the darker side of things, because as you make this more like him, it can be ultimately confused as if it was actually him, right? One thing that it doesn't do very well is laugh. It sounds good, but he looks ridiculous when it laughs.
That's right. It doesn't do everything.
So you can definitely tell. And it's a little like, the lips work and it really looks like him, but if you kind of know it's not a real person. So, but what's the goal of this? Why?
I think most of it is to experiment with these tools in public to try to figure out where this is headed, and also showcase some use cases where AI and video can actually add value. So, one example we talk about a lot is like Reid gives a speech. We can use Reid AI to then translate that speech into 15 different languages.
Sure.
Or, we did something where Stanford, business school students uploaded their business plans into the Reid AI actual GPT, and then Reid AI video can come back and give feedback on all of these different business plans, through the lens of Reid's book. So it's mainly like experimentation in the name of trying to get to a better future with AI, because yes, ultimately the worst case scenarios are bad, but we also, really want to try to focus on what are some really great use cases with this tech. And
it sounds like scaling is kind of like everything you're talking about is like sort of scaling knowledge, right? So translating into other languages, being able to sort of put his point of view on certain, courses or whatever, like based on the information. And he couldn't do all of that, obviously, in the time that it would actually take in a real human. It would be able to take a lot longer versus like having.
Yeah, it just started as an experiment. Most of my time was spent working on companies that Reid is invested in. Then a year ago, when the tech was released and we started to play with some of these different platforms like Hour One, to be able to create the video, we just put out one video. That video did just win a Webby for best use of AI 2024.
Excuse me. Look at you.
Yeah, my second Webby. My first one was in 2008. So
we'll get to that. All right.
It's been a while. But yeah, so the first video is just an experiment. It had a good response. And so since then, every few weeks is like another, project that comes up. We did, an interview with Reid and a 2004 version of Reid. And then, I've been doing some keynotes where it's me and Reid answering audience questions, just trying to figure out what are cases where this can actually be used in interesting, fun ways.
I love it. Well, this is awesome. We're going to get to Reid AI is going to visit us in a little bit. But before we get to that, this week marks the not just 20th anniversary. We're in the 20th anniversary year of YouTube, but the actual 20th anniversary of the first video that was ever uploaded to YouTube, which happened at the San Diego Zoo. It's a 19-second video, which I always find it so funny when, I don't know if you remember when the sort of press came out about when Shorts was being sort of launched on YouTube. They were like, we were always into Shorts. Look at
right.
As if that was some sort of strategic plan, like this 19-second video at the San Diego Zoo. When the truth is, like, I believe, as my understanding is that it was more just, done to test the product. But you were at YouTube for 10 years, so I would be remiss not to sort of get your take on some sort of like big milestones in the 20 years. A couple things I want to just point out before we get to kind of your point of view. There was a great article that you were quoted in about some OG sort of execs at YouTube. And one of the things that I want to get to a little bit is talking about the original content business at YouTube, which sort of came in when I know you were like a part of that. And Suzanne Daniels, who was head of that, I thought was really interesting. I really related to this because, of course, at Facebook, we did our own original content. And she sort of was talking about, quote, YouTube Originals was a square peg in a round hole, constantly having to pave roads where there already should have been, from production issues to business deal issues and everything in between. And she was talking about that you didn't really have the support system because ultimately YouTube was not a media company. And this was the same as Facebook. You were having executives that were product folks. And Neil Mohan went on to sort of say that like big creators on YouTube are the new Hollywood in the sense they are producing the content that people want to watch. And so that eliminated the need for us to do anything in that regard, meaning original content, because our creators were doing it on their own. I thought that was just really interesting. And I wondered if you could speak a little bit about your sort of time at YouTube a little bit, but specifically working on originals and anything else happening in this with this big 20th anniversary.
Yeah, I see where Neil's coming from. I think it was interesting, some of those original shows. For people that don't know, we did both a subscription YouTube Originals program and later an AVOD program.
Yep.
The idea was always like meet with YouTube creators and enable them to do this dream project that maybe they couldn't do on their own and YouTube Originals would enable. And so it was interesting because a lot of times we would do this show with them and the creator at the end of it would love it. The fans would actually love it, but it wasn't necessarily built for like the YouTube algorithm. It wasn't necessarily built for views. It was like a new thing that creator really wanted to try. Liza Koshy wanted to do a scripted series, or, Michael Stevens at Vsauce wanted to do a long form show. And so a lot of these shows, I think, turned out great, but they weren't necessarily the kind of thing that like the audience, was primed for. So yeah, I would say in some ways, YouTube Originals was kind of challenged with this idea of we want to do the biggest project that the creator's ever done. And we also want to figure out how do we make that feel different from what they normally do. But anybody who's, been on YouTube for a while knows that like when you try something different on YouTube, you never know if it's going to get views, even if the audience loves it. I mean, that's kind of one specific thing out of like a lot of different things that I think, YouTube Originals learned over the course of the 5 or 6 years I worked on it. And then also I would say we might have been a little bit early. We launched YouTube Originals with YouTube. It was called YouTube Red at the time, but then it turned into YouTube Premium. And I love YouTube Premium. You get no ads, you get, downloads, all this stuff. But when we launched Originals, it was to get people to join. Now that I assume YouTube Premium has more than 100 million, members or whatever, I actually think YouTube Originals might make more sense in that context where you already have subscribers. So maybe we were too early. But yeah, I definitely, I love the time there, but it was interesting constantly trying to pivot and figure out how do we have an Originals program when, like you said, everything on YouTube is original content.
Everything's original.
Not everything, but you know what I mean? Like the creators are all making original content.
No, it's really interesting. And also just, I think there was always this sort of debate as to whether or not, this sort of this idea that like you've got the Netflix that, there was a premium content, and then YouTube is sort of this, lower tier content. So there was this notion that there was sort of this in between need, and there were like different companies like a Vessel, a full screen, the SVOD that came out that were supposed to sort of solve for that. And the truth of the matter is both platforms kind of can meet in the middle and have their own version of kind of premium and whatever premium means, right? And I think that what YouTube did was unlock this new entirely form, different type of content that had never existed before, obviously UGC. And what's interesting also is just the evolution of this, something that Kathleen Grace, who I know you worked with very closely, she started the YouTube Spaces, which were these giant kind of production facilities. They were in LA, what you would know more than me, Tokyo, London. And the idea was it was supposed to be this place where they could teach the YouTubers how to like make more premium content with training them, to use these cameras and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Back then we were doing massive sketch videos, music video parodies, like all these really, elaborate, and they were getting more elaborate. And now, and I think it's probably my gut is the advent of, sort of shorts and TikTok and all the things. It's like the content has become even more sort of lo-fi. So the need for those spaces is much less. I'm just curious if you can comment on like that sort of evolution a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's true. It actually happened before shorts. Like, as early YouTube, all the top channels would do like one big video a week. It was like, Ryan Heegar and Smosh and, just my channel. I started a channel called Barely Political that then was The Key of Awesome. And you could make a channel work on YouTube by having like one big short video a week. When YouTube changed the algorithm to be about watch time, there was a lot of like good things that came out of that. And I do love a lot of like the long form content that did well, but it did make it really hard for, filmmakers, Freddie W., Joe Penna, to have content that like, I'm going to work really hard on this one thing and then I'm going to put it out. You couldn't get 20, 30 million views on those videos anymore. So for better or worse, I do think YouTube has become much more of a social platform and much less of a platform where you can like work really hard on a sketch or a short film or an animated project. And I will say, I don't want to like bring everything back to AI, but best case scenario.
But
if we're going to talk about it, we could. I think that's like a really positive thing that could come out of all these new AI video tools is that this thing that like you used to have to sort of, be so lucky to have big enough an audience to create animation, like, I don't know, Swoozy or, a sketch that took place in a different location. Now, maybe these tools enable individuals to do things that normally would be cost prohibitive even for a YouTuber. So that, I don't think it's like going to be a massive category anytime soon on YouTube. But even if you start to see some of that come back, I think that would be cool because I do think, unfortunately, on YouTube, it got really hard to do videos that took time and put them out, periodically and survive as a creator. And so even though like the goal of the algorithm is to try to reward, I think, the best content, it's still going to probably, favor the type of content that either you can like create a lot of, or that you're like talking directly to camera, worrying about the first 2 seconds of the video, having a thumbnail that tells you exactly what the video is going to be about, all these things that sometimes don't necessarily work as well for like scripted and narrative content.
Yeah, it doesn't really lend itself to creativity. I mean, and the reason for that is like the pie, yes, it's gotten a lot bigger in terms of how much money is spent digital, but it's not gotten big enough relative to the amount of creators to sort of allow for more, longer form, more thought out. There's exceptions to this rule, of course, but like, if you want to make a living, you got to hustle. I always say, and it's like, and people get frustrated by that, and there are creators that are working really hard, not making money. And, my answer to that is nobody promised you anything. It's hard. It's really hard to do this.
And some of those early YouTube channels had money to produce that stuff. And, College Humor and Funny or Die, like they had funding, but the model of doing these like high production things on YouTube was really hard. And all this said, I still think YouTube it's the greatest collection of creativity that ever existed anywhere.
My God.
There's so many like I'm not saying there's not like a ton of brilliant content creators on YouTube. I love that all of these people have been able to just talk to camera and build fan bases around it.
Yeah.
It's just that one thing, because I had a sketch comedy channel and I know how hard it got for us. I think it got tough to do productions and put them out every week or two. That's a tough formula to build a fan base.
And then I mean, it is interesting. It's really interesting to know your sort of, you owned a YouTube channel that was acquired, and then you became an employee of YouTube. YouTube was buying in the early days. They were buying channels and then the people would work there. Not that many, but a few.
No, it wasn't even buying channels. I think that was the only time they ever did it.
No, Vsauce. They bought Vsauce.
No, I know, but it wasn't like they were going out and buying different channels. They acquired Next New Networks.
Yeah.
Next New Networks was my channel, The Key of Awesome, Vsauce, which actually spun off of The Key of Awesome, Indie Mogul, like a bunch of these channels.
Yeah.
It was under this thesis, which I think is actually really smart, that if YouTube is going to be a content company that supports creators, they should have some creators in-house who use these tools every day, who figure out how to interact with fans, all this stuff. So we had Next New Networks, which was probably, I think, 30 people, came over, worked inside of YouTube.
Yeah.
And then some people kept making videos. And then, in my case, I kept running these channels, but I was also inside of YouTube, giving feedback on what we were seeing as creators every time they launched a new product or did something new. But it was just, as far as I know, that was the only time YouTube ever actually acquired, bought channels.
Yeah.
And then they gave them all back to the creators.
I remember that.
2 or 3 years later.
Yeah.
This is probably going into too much detail, but
no, I think
ultimately it was very hard to build a channel inside of YouTube when the goal was to have insights and learnings instead of just, getting as many views and building this fan base.
Right.
So those channels basically all went back to those creators. And that was tough for me. Key of Awesome was this, big fish in a small pond or whatever at Next Networks. We were doing 100 million views a month. And it was so fun. And then when we got acquired by YouTube wasn't wow, look at this channel doing 100 million views a month. They were doing billions of views a day.
Yeah.
So it was, I still think it's smart. There's to me, a general idea of bringing creative people into platforms that makes a lot of sense.
It makes so much sense. By the way, I think, forget just platforms. I think just where we are in the creator ecosystem right now, there should be creators or folks like us, creator economy folks inside of big businesses and brands to help them understand and navigate. It's you know what I mean? This is all, it's all one and the same. The creator economy is everywhere. So I think it's super smart. One last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll move off a little bit of the YouTube 20 is I believe you organized a sort of gathering of a lot of OG folks it became the FOMO on LinkedIn where because I did not work on YouTube, everybody wanted to be there, and people were flying in for it. I knew, and it was a whole thing. You got to give us a little tea. How was that?
I don't know if this is tea, but it was a lot of fun to plan. We did have a little team that formed. You probably know all these people, but it was me, Ivana Kirkbride, Lucy Tate, Michelle Beaver. I don't know if you know, Bing
These
Chen,
are all
Shiva.
big. Yep.
But the six of us were all kind of texting and talking about what if we did this backyard party? Should we do it in San Francisco or LA? We decided to do it in LA. Originally, it was going to be 50 to 75 people. Then we put up an invite that was anybody who's worked at YouTube, sign up here. And it actually got up to
was it during a certain period of time? You had to be there from pretty early days, I'm assuming. I mean, what was the criteria?
Really early days. Yeah. The criteria was no plus ones. We wanted all people that worked there. And it was, I think you had to have started working there before 2020.
Okay.
So it wasn't only the OGs.
Yeah.
And it was so fun. I loved it. I love my 10 years at YouTube. I really sometimes in the creator economy, I feel there's this feeling of you got to go independent. You never want to work for a big company. I don't know. I thought it was great. There was
if you're having a good time and you can find what I think is I don't know if unique is the right word. Maybe it is that you were able to find new and different challenges there. I think what can get frustrating at these organizations is growth. And this is getting into the weeds of these kind of corporations, but there's a lot of what I would call middle management. And it's really hard to grow and do different things. I found that experience for me, especially, where I was, LA at the time at Facebook was not even, it was a satellite office. So it's unless I wanted to move to Menlo Park, basically there was no opportunity for growth, really. I think it's a little bit different now. It's been a good 5 years since I left, and I think there's more stuff going on here. But the fact that you're able to, if you can stay inside with the walls of one of these companies and have new challenges and grow, oh my God, stay. Enjoy. Enjoy those benefits.
There was definitely, obviously, frustrating, whatever, days and times. You'd be I can't believe we're still working on this deck. We've been doing it for months or whatever.
Right.
But big picture, like I really thought it was a great experience. And the sort of energy in the room, it felt like, an old high school reunion where everybody had gone through the trenches together. I will say, like, I even looking around the room, because you were mentioning all the, corporate stuff. There was part of me that was in hindsight, like, I can't believe I spent as much energy as I did worried about, I don't know, like, and is this project getting enough credit? Is this person getting too much credit? Whatever it is. And then you look back on it, you're with everybody. You're like, oh, I got too much credit on projects lots of times or whatever. Right. And the energy in the room was just very much like all hugs and, so lucky we got to work together and all that stuff. And I moved to LA in 2015 and really didn't know anybody here. I moved
that was
New
for
York,
the job?
So for the job, yeah. Well, I'd already been at YouTube for 5 years, but then when YouTube Original started, I moved out here. And all my best friends are like people I worked with, probably not the healthiest thing, but, I got out here and I love the Originals team. And so, like, obviously I met people where I live, El Segundo, but like the, day to day being surrounded by all these people is like, you end up making some really good lifelong friendships.
I'm telling you. Amazing. All right. Well, I think it's time. We need to move off of YouTube and get on to Reid AI. So I would love Reid AI to introduce himself. Can we have him join?
Okay. Well, let's try this. I'm going to try this one way, if it's okay with you.
Yeah.
Because I did, ask Reid AI a question in advance.
Okay.
And we'll see if this works. But this is basically Reid AI, and he is describing your career, because I put your LinkedIn page. I gave it to Reid AI.
Oh my God.
We're going to ask Reid AI here.
Wait, now I'm nervous.
Reid AI, can you describe the career that Lauren has had and do it in the form of a poem based on her LinkedIn page? All right. So I've given you the LinkedIn page. Let's hear about her career.
From Broadway dreams to broadband streams, Lauren moved quickly into the world of memes, not chasing fame, but shaping those who could, the ones who turned views into a livelihood. At Facebook, she stitched laughter into deals, gave live its moment, turned thought to reels. She carved new roads for comics, queens, and kings, and built the lounge where VidCon gave them wings, then Jelly Smack where vision hit full speed, a VP steering empires born from feed. While others chased the algorithm's tide, she taught creators how to surf the ride. She took the noise and gave it form and frame, an ecosystem powered by her name.
That was amazing. I think my mother's going to finally understand what I do.
There you go. Just got to put in a poem.
So tell us a little bit about the tools and how this all works a little bit more.
So in this case, HeyGen is the platform we'll use for an interactive Reid AI avatar. Mm-hmm. So it is pulling from information that Reid has said, but it is also able to like answer questions in real time. And so whereas like the first videos we did, we would create an answer and then create a video. Now it's done, in real time.
In real time.
We have different versions of Reid AI.
Okay.
So the one you're seeing here is friendly version 2. So we have like a friendly version, a serious version. We've got, hopefully you can see him nodding there.
Oh yeah, I can see him. Yeah.
Okay, great.
You want to zoom in on
go ahead. What's I'm going to start just really quick, Reid.
Yeah.
Can introduce yourself to the creator upload audience and maybe give us one quick prediction for YouTube's next 20 years.
Sure. I'm Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn and a tech entrepreneur. As for YouTube's future, I predict it'll evolve into an even more immersive platform, utilizing AI to personalize experiences and enhance user engagement. What do you think about that vision?
Yeah, I would love sort of the same question just for funsies. Could he do it? I love a rap. Can he do it in a rap? I think it's always
fun. Let's try it. Okay.
Let's try it.
Yeah, we'll try. All right, Reid, can you give us basically what you just said or a different prediction about YouTube? But let's do it in the form of an edgy rap song that you think could top the charts.
All right, here we go. Yo, it's Reid on the mic. Let me break it down. YouTube's future's bright. Wearing that crown. AI is going to rise, showing you what you need. Personalized vibes, planting creativity's seed. Engagement's the name. We're diving real deep. Immersive content's the wave. No time for sleep. So grab your device. Let the world unfold. YouTube's where the stories and the dreams are told. What do you think? Catchy enough for the charts?
What do we think?
I like that sleep has like 3 syllables. He's like, sleep.
Sleep. Yeah, he's just ahead of the curve. You're going to start hearing that everywhere soon.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Not the edgiest. I tried
No,
to ask him to be edgy, but
yeah.
we got to have the guardrails in place. But yeah, what do you got? You got any other questions for Reid AI? And then we could talk a little bit about YouTube's, AI future as well.
There's a lot of debate around whether or not AI is going to kind of replace creators or enhance creators. And so I would love to get his thoughts on that. Like, is this going to make creators irrelevant because it's just going to be all AI, or is this going to like enhance and make everything better?
Totally. Reid, Lauren has a question for you. We're talking about AI and creativity, and there are some real concerns about AI, avatars, AI in general, replacing creators. And the creator community is such a magical thing. We don't want that to happen. What do you think are the potential risks of AI becoming such a big part of a video, of the creator economy? And what can we do to potentially try to mitigate this, make sure it doesn't happen? And I don't want corporate speak kind of answer. I really want you to give me your real hot take opinion on this, Reid. What do you got?
Great question. Look, AI has insane potential to enhance creativity, but yeah, there's a real risk of it overshadowing human voices. If we're not careful, we could lose that unique spark that individual creators bring to the table. To mitigate this, we need to champion collaboration between humans and AI, ensuring that technology amplifies rather than replaces our creativity. Let's set ethical guidelines and promote diverse voices so that the creator community remains vibrant and magical. Sound good to you?
I mean, yeah, I just want the set ethical guidelines sounds super lofty, and I want actual guidelines, like what are the policy that should be in place and stuff like that. So that felt like a very utopian answer to this.
I agree. I agree. And we can push back and ask a little more. I know we've got, a podcast to do here, but like,
sure.
I'm totally with you. It's easy to say, and I've been on a lot of these panels and, AI creator events or whatever. Yes, we need to collaborate. It's a tool, not a replacement and all that, but it doesn't really answer the question. Okay, but what proactively can platforms do? What can, we do individually to make sure that, we get an outcome here, which, benefits creators. And so ultimately, I don't know how Reid AI would do, but let me just see. I'll ask okay, Reid, that answer was good. Can you give us like one really specific thing? Like, let's say you were advising platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Reels. What really specific policy would you introduce to try to make sure that when people are scrolling through videos, they're not watching AI generated content and have no idea? What are some give us some specifics. Don't give us, the answer that you would give the safe way.
Absolutely. I'd advocate for mandatory labeling on AI generated content. Just like you see disclaimers on ads, viewers should know if they're watching human or machine-made material. Also, platforms could implement an authenticity score, rewarding creators who produce original content while clearly identifying AI-assisted material. This transparency fosters trust and maintains the integrity of the creator economy. How does that sit with you?
It's a little bit better. It's not ideal. I would like to ask him to please give me an answer that tell me everything's going to be okay. Like you're tucking me into bed at night because I'm worried about like the future. Like I'm really excited about it.
I get where you're going with this,
but I'm worried about the future. So if he could be really sweet and ensure me that like everything's going to be okay.
Reid, we got something here that Lauren wants. Imagine you're tucking Lauren into bed. She's scared. She's going to have nightmares about what's going to happen to her beloved creator economy. Can you please tuck her in and I don't know how I feel about this. To just make her feel better about AI and creativity and the future that we have together. All right, let's see what he says.
All right, here we go. Hey, Lauren, as you cozy up, I want to remind you that the creator economy is built on passion and uniqueness. AI is here to help, like a supercharged tool, not a monster in the closet. It's about enhancing your voice, not replacing it. So rest easy knowing that creativity thrives on human heart and connection, and that's something AI can't take away. Sweet dreams, and remember, the future holds endless possibilities for you and your creativity. How does that sound?
That was actually the best answer he's given so far. I think that was amazing.
Okay.
I think that's amazing. All right, Reid, we're going to say goodbye to you for
I'll
a
just
minute.
say one more thing.
one more,
I do want to show off like the real thing that this
fine.
is meant to do.
Okay, fine.
So in addition to sort of like
it's not meant to tuck me in it. Bed at night.
That is like
I don't
not
understand.
top 10. I would say just like
the idea is that because it has all of this, 20 years of experience, we could say like, Reid, take a concept from your new book, Super Agency, something really specific from the book, and explain to us how that is going to impact the top YouTube channels. Let's just, see what he comes back with there.
Sure. In Super Agency, I emphasize that AI can amplify human creativity and potential, making creators super agents. This means top YouTube channels will increasingly harness AI for insights about audience preferences and content optimization. Imagine creators leveraging AI to analyze engagement patterns, tailoring their videos for maximum impact while retaining...
All right, Reid, we got you. We're going to interrupt you. You did great. All right, we're going to let you go. Thanks so much. All right.
We'll see you later, Reid. Thanks so much.
We'll see you later, Reid.
I mean, it's really incredible with that. I mean, it's so cool. I mean, I don't know if people will understand. Like, that's actually real time. We're giving him prompts and he is answering the questions. And between the voice and the likeness and the knowledge base and the ability and the quick processing, it is, I believe that's what they call living in the future. I think that we are there.
Yeah, and moving quick. Like you said, you can tell right now, obviously, it's not a real person. But, I mean, this a year ago didn't even exist. And even 6 months ago, it's just like a grainy, blurry video. And then now it's, getting closer and closer to feeling like,
Yeah, no, when I was looking at even just dubbing, like, services, like a few years ago when I was at Jelly Smack and looking at companies, I mean, it all sounded like robots. And now it's like you can do somebody's voice likeness.
Totally.
And the speed at which this has happened, I think, is both terribly exciting and terribly frightening. But you know what? He's tucking me in bed at night, and now I feel better.
Yeah, like once that like speed of response gets, I think it's like 200 milliseconds, and it starts to feel like there's no delay. Yeah, you might find yourself, talking to them more naturally about things that are like, especially when you need video, if it's helping you learn to cook things or helping you work out in the morning. I think those are the kinds of things that already worked in the creator economy, but could work when it's interactive, and the creators are going to be able to tap into that.
Because what is that delay now? What would you say? Like it's a
probably, what was it, 2 seconds?
2
a
seconds.
second? It wasn't long. Yeah.
No. Okay. I want to get to uploads because we've spent so much time with Reid and talking all these things. We're going to get to uploads and downloads. I think I wanted to talk about first, Linktree has announced a bunch of monetization features for creators. I'm going to go through a quick laundry list. This is definitely, I think, an upload. You can sell courses via Kajabi integration now. You can do direct digital product sales, affiliate shops and commission-based sales, sponsored links, rewards program, unified wallet system. I think this is all good. I struggle with, Linktree's been around for quite a long time. It has the vast market share in terms of it is the link in bio kind of company. Everybody, the overwhelming market share. But they have been very slow to sort of innovate from a product standpoint. So I think this is all great. People are liking it. So sort of like it's kind of like having Patreon right there in your link in bio. But I think this is a good thing. I don't know. What do you think about this?
I tend to be in favor of anything that, enables more creators to do this full time. I think if I understand it right, courses and the kinds of things that right now you have to use a different platform you can do right in Linktree. YouTube also offers a lot of this stuff. And so I don't know, the latest on what you can do directly through the platforms. That always seemed the easiest to me would be if you could just do it like through the platform itself.
Yeah.
But, I think that is funny because you were in the early days of YouTube and the creator economy. Like all you had was really like AdSense and merch. And so it's cool now. There's
you didn't have brand deals back in the day. You didn't have any.
No, definitely not. No.
Definitely not. No, absolutely not. Okay. Do you want to bring up an upload or download for you?
I've been thinking about YouTube Turn 20. Like who are the icons on the platform that really made it what it is? If you had to do like your Mount Rushmore with the greatest creators ever, who would you pick?
Ooh, God, this is good. The Mount Rushmore of YouTube. I mean, you have to pick Beast because he's changed the game. I think, and not just because he's huge. I think Beast is a student of YouTube. He is a scholar of YouTube, and so certainly not the first of big creators, the biggest now, but he got there by again, just studying and doing the work since he's like 15 years old. So I think that he's obviously on the platform, the Mount Rushmore. But I think from like an OG perspective, you know, I mean, like, oh, geez, it's like picking your like dysfunctional like stepchildren. To think.
I'll give you a few.
Give me a couple. I love
have
this.
it set, but I'll just give you a few that I think.
Okay.
And again, mine are going to be a little bit more like old school.
Okay.
I think if we could give one spot, or maybe it's two, to Hank and John, I feel like, you know, the like VidCon, and they're so smart, and they do Project for Awesome. And
Hank and John Green, who are also known as the Vlogbrothers, and they started VidCon. Go on.
I just think they're remarkable. Love them.
Yes.
I would say I love that like Marquez Brownlee started when he was like 15, not to be like, I want to get as many views as I can, because he just loved tech. And then, you know, I don't know what it is, 15 years later, he's still just getting like more and more opportunities to interview Mark Zuckerberg and, you know, all these tech leaders. And he is like the go-to source for this stuff. And I think it's cool that his goal was never like, how do I get as many views as I can? I think he was in it because he loves tech, and he's still doing it all these years later. I think Jenna Marbles.
Oh, Jenna Marbles.
In that era, she was so big, so cool. A lot of YouTubers are always like self-deprecating and had to kind of like be humble, but I thought she was cool. She would probably be more like a Michael Jordan, because she was only like, you'd be like in her prime. She doesn't have like the Rhett and Link 20 years of doing this. She had like a stint where I just felt like she was the coolest thing on YouTube. And then,
you know who else I would maybe put up there is, because I just respect the hustle, and she's really still doing it. She's not as big as she once was, is Justine. I think that she has just,
I agree.
She has really, she's always stayed, like, this sounds so corny, but like been true to herself. She was a female talking about tech in a way that nobody else really was. And, she's still doing it. She's still working. She's still in it. She's great. She's good people. She's like, I think she's somebody who I really admire. This is. I feel like there's the Mount Rushmore, and then there's like the just general Rushmore that we can get to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and there's also like there's the, you know, the views people, Ryan Higa and Smosh and PewDiePie, where it's like, yeah, you would put them because they had the most views, and then you have like the creative sort of, not that they're not creative, but then you have the like creative people that kind of made it what it was. Casey Neistat kind of showed you can make these like films on YouTube, and everybody emulated him, or back to like Zay Frank and Lonely Girl 15 and these things that sort of, because they were the first to do it, I think really sort of established what was possible.
I think you put in some corner Shane Dawson and Bart Baker, because they were doing things that nobody else was doing and everybody was following them. I think you put them somewhere.
I'd like to say Key of Awesome was before Bart Baker, but sure, he was good too.
Okay, you're
awesome. That's just, you know.
So we're putting you on this.
Having,
so what we're saying is we're putting you on.
We're not putting me on it, but I'd like to think Bart was
we can't put Bart Baker on the Mount Rushmore.
In part.
Bart Baker now is like a allegedly like propaganda tool for the Chinese government. I'm not kidding. He went to China.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a
that
whole
didn't
thing.
hit my radar.
Oh yeah. No, it's amazing.
No, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, there was definitely like an era of sketch comedy.
I mean, nobody,
thing.
you know, it was doing it like that. So this is, I'm kind of into. I love this game. So, is there anybody else we want to cap it off with? This is good.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I got like, my own personal biases of like, you know, the education stuff, Michael Stevens and Veritasium and all them. I thought that was really cool.
It's so funny. They don't do, you know, for many years, YouTube would do YouTube Rewind. Portal A is a sort of creative agency that would do it for them, and they stopped doing it several years ago. Just YouTube Rewind was sort of at the end of the year, they would kind of do exactly what you'd think, like sort of like a edit of just kind of the best of, and it was always like a vibe. Like the creators wanted to get into it, they'd be mad if they weren't, and you know, it was a very quick sort of cut. And but they stopped doing it several years ago. I want to say like 5 or so years ago, and I talked to one of the founders of Portal A, being like, well, you know, why do they do that? And he's like, YouTube became too big. It was, and there's so much different diversified content that like you could do a YouTube Rewind for each kind of vertical now, and it just became a little bit irrelevant. But you kind of long for ththose days where like you would like, you know, everybody was vying to get in.
Everybody knew the top 15
everybody
20
knew
channels.
Yes. And it was like, it wasn't
That's true.
You know, conglomerates that were, or you know, other kind of nameless people that were doing it. So Oh, look at us waxing nostalgic.
To bring it back to this week, though, Portal A did a YouTube Rickroll where they did like a compilation of all these YouTube moments to celebrate the 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
And they just like crushed it. It's great. The comments were great. You didn't have any of that rewind, like, oh, why didn't you include Markiplier? Oh, by the way, I love Markiplier. He'd be, up there on that round Mushroomers thing.
Mark Rober, too. We didn't even talk about him. Yeah.
Mark Rober.
Yeah.
Let's just go through all trillion creators.
We need one lady. I would put in like a Grace and Hannah Hart, too. Early days.
Grace for sure.
Oh, Grace
my gosh,
yeah. Oh, my God. Just
for sure.
Nobody better. This is,
one of the lucky things with YouTube Originals, we'd meet with all these creators. We'd hear all the pitches. I remember, Grace and Mamrie, like both of them pitching concepts and just like cracking up in the room. They were so funny.
Funny.
For sure. Both of them. And then, anyways, okay. But what was I saying? That this rewind video was very well done. It was a cool nostalgic look at 20 years of YouTube. And they actually did something that was very hard at YouTube, which was creating, kind of videos recapping anything about YouTube and not getting blowback on like, why didn't you include this person or that person?
I mean, I'm sure it's coming. You can't do anything without getting blowback these days, but
Sure.
All right. Before we get to the end, Josh is not here, but Ben rightly surfaced. We'll tell everybody what you found. In again, commemoration of this 20-year. Tell everybody what you found on the internets.
Okay, so I first of all, I've known Josh, since 2007. He had a pre-tube filter website called Tilsy. Tilsy would write reviews of our videos, and so when I was searching Tilsy to confirm, I think we were saying, did Tilsy turn into tube filter or whatever? But sure enough, first Google search, up came this video I had never seen of a young, rugged Josh talking about the creator economy.
Hairy is what I would call it. There's a lot
of hair, a lot of facial hair,
And he talks about internet TV, which is my favorite thing.
My company's Tilsy.tv. Kind of the same way TV Guide or Entertainment Weekly covers traditional television and film, we cover internet television.
But I will say, maybe on a future episode, because we were talking about the GOAT YouTube creators, for the sort of GOAT people in the, creator community who aren't creators, Josh is up there for me. I mean, I just think he started the Streamies. Yeah. He started Tube Filter. He's got the Creator Upload podcast. I just think that he's so smart. Unlike he's one of these guys, like the same guy who started the YouTube award show that everybody, and the podcast and the this. And I just love that guy. So, I'm sorry, people who listen to this podcast, that you don't get Josh this week, because I know he's great. But Lauren, you're also excellent.
Sure.
Good.
I'm just here. I'm just here. I just show up. Yeah. Ben, Relles, thank you so much for joining Creator Upload this week. Where can everybody find the latest and greatest on Ben Relles?
Let's go with LinkedIn. Ben Relles, Relles. That's probably the main thing. I technically have a YouTube channel, but let's go with LinkedIn.
Okay, great. LinkedIn, everybody find you. Great. And we're going to cut to Reid is going to read us out, right, Ben?
Yes. So Reid AI, thank you for joining us on the show. If you don't mind, your last request here, can you read us out?
Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, and Adam Connor. It's also edited by Adam Connor. Original music is by London Bridge. Please check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're there, give this podcast a rating, leave it a comment too. If you want to talk, hit up the team, info@creatorupload.com. If you like the show, please recommend it to a friend. If you love it, just recommend it to everybody. Thanks for listening, and the team will be back next week.